How are you? Can you guys hear me okay? I hope I hope everyone on the other end can hear me okay. So yes, live streaming from I am live streaming from home. I traveled to Texas last week and came home, and I'm quarantining until I get a COVID-19 test. Not that I'm ill or anything. I just want to be cautious and considerate of all those that I'm around on a daily basis. So here I am. And we have a friend. We've all got a friend. This is a wonderful opportunity that I look forward to every year. This is one of my favorite songs, You've Got a Friend by James Taylor. It's a classic song. And this series, the power of song, is real for many of us. It's real for me. I love music. And it really reminds me of life, that I do have someone I can rely on. It can be a person, it can be God. But there is always someone who has my back. No matter what the outer circumstances, I can go within for that gentle reassurance of love. When I forget, all I have to do is call out. Call out to someone. And this year, even right now, I'm at home, not really because of fear, but because I want to be conscious of that there is a virus in our world. There's a lot of chaos. There's a lot of darkness and loneliness. And yet, I know the truth that I am whole and healthy, and all those around me are whole and healthy. But sometimes we have to model what we teach. And that's what I'm doing today. To realize that we are all one. There is no real separation. Even though I'm at home and you guys are at church or in your own homes, we're all together as one. And yes, we have a lot of egos running in our own lives, in our families, in our political system, on both sides. And many of our agencies and organizations and companies, corporations are all founded in the spirit of unity and oneness, and yet egos tend to drive them. And that's not a bad thing. And yet, when we get caught up in the ego and the shadow, we don't let our light shine. And that's why we call out to that friend to remember to let our light shine. So who do you turn to in those moments of despair, fear, and anxiety? Those moments of darkness? A friend who helps you see the light, to keep your head and heart together, a friend to remind you that this too shall pass. A lot of times I'll go within. And when I go within, there is a friend there for me. That song, I don't know, I learned when I was a kid, you have a friend in Jesus. That was always real for me. Jesus is my way shower. And so when I think of that, it makes my heart lighter. It leads me from that place of despair into the light. So whether your friend is human, a human angel, a messenger, Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, or God, it doesn't really matter. What matters is that we call out and know that the call is answered. because you've got a friend. When we call out, the door opens. You know, the Bible verse, ask, knock, and ask, and it's answered. Well, when we call out, we're asking. You know, when I teach Reiki, we call on our ancestors, our master teachers, our angels, archangels, and God to help us in our own healing and in the healing of others. In our prayers, we're calling out and affirming the good in our lives and in the lives of our loved ones. So we're calling on that friend. So when you're down and troubled and need that helping hand, close your eyes and call out. Call out from a distance. Listen to that still, small voice of guidance and come into the light of love. I want to share a story about the songwriter of the next song and how she overcame the dark and cold north winds. It's a story behind the award-winning song From a Distance and the miracles a song can bring, as told by the writer, Julie Gold. And so this is her story. And I just want to share it because when I was thinking about this and I looked up the lyrics of the songs, and I always like to get the background of the music when we do these powerful music series. And so what she says is in 1978, at the age of 22, she came to New York in pursuit of the dream of being a songwriter. And while dreams are essential, they don't pay the rent. And for years, I worked various temporary jobs, gigging at night and sending songs out wherever possible. I demonstrated vacuum cleaners, Mr. Coffees, and toaster ovens. I worked the flea markets as a proofreader for a dentist and at a Venetian blind factory. It was a struggle, no health benefits, no money for recreational purpose, desperation, self-doubt, fear. We all know what that's like. But all the while, I clung to the dream like a life preserver. I knew why I was born, and no one could discourage me from reaching my mountaintop. I was willing to die trying. Honest, I was. I finally gave in, taking a full-time job as a secretary at HBO in 1984. It was a smart move, and the magic of a steady paycheck. In the spare time and evening hours, I was, of course, still gigging, writing songs, and dreaming my big dream. Now, however, I didn't have that horrible daily struggle of keeping my head above water financially. In 1985, just before my 30th birthday, my parents sent me the piano I grew up playing. I had just served as a juror on an emotionally trying case, and my brother had just married, and I was questioning my life, wondering what the future could possibly hold. I took the day off work to be home when my piano arrived, and I remember how it glistened in the sun as the movers lowered it off the truck. My piano, my truest love and friend, my confidant, back together again after all these years. It came into my little one-room apartment and fit just where I had hoped it would. The movers told me it had been on the truck for 24 hours, so I had to give it a chance to settle. I couldn't play it for a full day. We were in the same room together, unable to make music. I remember hugging it and polishing it. Then I went to bed. My bed was a high loft, and I looked down on my piano all night to make sure it was really there. The next day, I sat down and from a distance just poured out of me. On one hand, it took me 2 hours to write. On the other hand, it took me 30 years. Pick whichever hand makes you happy. I love them both. I sent from a distance around to all my contacts, as usual. Most did not even reply. Those who did found fault with my song. My friend and fellow songwriter, Christine Levin, loved it and requested copies to send around to her friends and contacts. Within 2 weeks, my scratchy demo was getting radio play thanks to Christine. Then I came home one day to a flashing message on my answering machine. There was a gentle, unknown voice identifying herself as Nancy Griffith. Christine had sent her the song, she loved it, and was asking to record it. She recorded the song from a distance on her album for MCA. I saw her perform it live and observed her singing, her audience singing along. That's when I realized that my life would never be the same. She sang that song all over the world, and I was still very much a secretary. She would call me from Belfast and tell me how the song was affecting people all over the world. She took me out on the road with her several times, just so I could play the piano as she sang that one song. What incredible moments. Me getting love and honor from total strangers, all because of one little song. Me basking in the light of a lifelong dream. I played Carnegie Hall with Nancy. All my relatives came up from Philadelphia to share the miracle. Most of them, including my mother, are immigrants. And in many ways, I am their American dream. What an amazing dream it is. As I write this, I can't even believe it's true, but it really is. Even with all this glory, however, I was still a secretary. I lived in a one little dark room, still barely made enough money to survive. Believe it or not, I was depressed and despondent. I remember crying on the phone to both my parents, who incidentally were never anything short of supportive, encouraging, and lovingly, and with regard to my dream. I remember my desperation and how they tried to console me with their stereo pep talk. It didn't work. Finally asked what they could do to help me feel better. For the first time in my life, I asked them to please pay my rent for 6 months. They agreed. I left my job at HBO. I walked down 6th Avenue crying all the way. Those were the best 6 months of my life. Finally, a full-time musician. I made my hours, I wrote my songs, I called, I mailed, I pitched, I played, I prayed. I sent songs to every singer in the world. I walked tall. I felt good. I received my first royalty check from foreign performances from a distance, and that bought me another 6 months of freedom. During this time, I received a call from Mark Shaman, who identified himself as Beth Midler's music director. She was making a new record, and they wanted to use From a Distance. I sent the demo, Beth recorded it. People seemed to love it, and I won a Grammy for the Song of the Year in 1991. I was still living in a one dark room, no money, uncertain of my future, and yet my song was on the radio, and I had won a Grammy. If that isn't a dream come true, what is? I am now 55. I live in a beautiful condo with air, light, and a view of my beloved New York, the city of dreams. I earned my living as a songwriter. I have hugged Burt Bacharach. I have dined with Lamont Dozier. I have met Paul McCartney. I have heard from a distance in many languages. I have felt it in Braille. I have heard it on music boxes and in elevators. I read it on greeting cards and in children's books. And it has been played for astronauts in space. It is nothing short of a miracle. And I am never anything but amazed and grateful for that miracle happened to me. I love that story because each of us is a miracle. And when we follow our dreams, we allow ourselves to be, even in the darkness, even in the small one room with no money. We persist. We move through the fear and desperation. We move through it with a friend. We move through it with each other. Just as we are moving through this year of unknown, unsettling, separation, which is not really separation at all. We are one. We are one together. And there are so many possibilities for each of us when we take the time to call out and ask for that guidance to achieve our dreams, whatever they might be, because each of us are on this planet at this time for a reason. And it's not the same reason. None of us are all here together for one reason other than love. But each of us has a path and a place to move mankind forward, humankind forward. Raising our consciousness and the consciousness of all those around us to the truth of love, to the truth of life, the miracles of life. I mean, I'm honored to be sitting here looking out my window, talking to you guys, and seeing the beauty and colors. I would have never thought to do this a year ago. And yet, everything's changed. Nothing ever stays the same. And we know this to be true. So when we're in that place of darkness, open the shades and let the light in. Call out to a friend. Go within and to prayer and ask for that guidance to fulfill the dream, whatever your dream is. From a distance, all things are possible. When we go within, follow our guidance to our dreams, we are free to live the miracle of life. We are free to soar with the eagles. We are free to manifest and create our purpose. We do it as individuals and we do it collectively in consciousness. It changes the world. We transform ourselves. We transform the world through love. So, from a distance, the world looks blue and green, and the snow-capped mountains white. From a distance, the ocean meets the stream, and the eagles take flight. From a distance, there is harmony, and it echoes through the land. It's the voice of hope. It's the voice of peace. It's the voice of each of us calling out to that friend. I'm honored to call you my friend. I love each and every one of you. I can't wait till we're back together again and can hug and sing together and feel the joy Have a beautiful day. Namaste.